Welcome, everyone. This is our Souls Speak. We're in constellation in divine space. We convene with our souls to listen, share, and explore. Our Souls Speak, a podcast where together with our guests, we embody the soulful principles of oneness and sourceness. Welcome to our Soul Speak podcast, episode 1, and our topic is Golden Earth. We are blessed to welcome Vivienne Dorenbos Reesink as our guest today. What do I do for a living is a question Vivienne doesn't know how to answer. The pioneer of transformation, social entrepreneur, wayshower, inspirer of consciousness, or nature guide would be the best way to describe what she does for a living. The past 9 years in the vessel of VivU BuntU, she has transformed her business life by connecting with ancient wisdom and future generations to heal the earth and humanity. Before that, in 22 years of corporate life, Vivienne mainly considers herself an internal student of life and a global citizen. Her work life is about collaborating and co-creating among our global family to sustain our humanity and our planet in a healthy way for the well-being of all. From an early age, Vivienne has been searching for her place here on Earth. Being connected to natural law, to all dimensions, has unconsciously and later consciously always been her normal. Her new book, Living Natural Law, has just been released. And Vivienne, it's such a pleasure to welcome you here today to our podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's totally my honor.
So the topic today is Golden Earth. Can you tell us what that means to you?
Yeah, it was interesting because I'm always guided by, I don't know what, well, mainly my intuition. And just before we went online, I was guided to read a few lines from the book on this. So I would love to do that before we dive in.
That'd be great.
And it's a piece that I've just explained about the compassion teachings of the Dalai Lama and how they have touched me. And then I say this, or it's not I, because I don't feel that I have written the book, but I really feel that the book has been written through me, by the way.
Yeah.
If compassion and love is the same, it is one of the grandfather teachings in indigenous traditions. Actually, it's the one that will sprout from mastering the other 6. If you would ask my humble opinion, I feel that love and wisdom arise in us when we master the values of respect, courage, truth, honesty, and humility. The 7 grandfather teachings are Anishinaabe principles, and they are relatable and encompass the kind of morals that humanity can aspire to live by. They offer ways to enrich one's life while existing in peace and harmony with all creation. They are passed down from generation to generation through stories. Humility is to know yourself as part of creation. Imagine we would all master this value. And so for me, actually, that's the essence of what Golden Earth is for me. So for me, it's really about remembering our essence as a divine being having a human experience. And once we truly master that, so when we're truly aligned to Father Sky and Mother Earth, living from the heart, then it's about, then we're able to live the golden rule, which I always see as like a more horizontal way, the way we are in relatedness with everything around us. And when we have those two things, then we live our lives from the purest inside out. And then us humans being creators, then this purity I always see as golden. So that is the way that we create golden earth, to me.
You. And I want to take it one step further. I think you believe it's our responsibility to live in this way.
Yeah, I really, and what I mean with responsibility is that I think it's a huge honor to be alive and to be in a human body, and especially in these times, because I think it's, well, you can look at it in different ways, but I think it's really interesting times, and it's not without a reason that the ones that are alive in a human body at this moment are here now. So, and that for me comes with a responsibility to, yeah, to really master our human experience by leaning back into the all, into the one. And what I mean also with responsibility as a human is what I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what consciousness is and what raising your consciousness is, and that a lot of people are looking for it out there, whereas the responsibility is really to start in here and to understand that it all starts from our open heart, and that's the access to our open will and to divine will and to the all.
Yeah. Understanding the essence of our being, right? Can you talk a little bit about how you correlate that with sacred geometry?
Mm, that's one of my favorite topics. Yeah, yeah. So I think that's part of the responsibility. Like I said, if we are here at this moment, at this auspicious moment in time, where we are really transitioning as a whole to a new phase, which is maybe a very ancient phase, or very ancient era. So we could see that as well. Is that we are all fractals of the one, and so for us, in order to be part of that sacred geometry of the alchemy, if you wish to call it that way, and to transition into this golden earth, we all have the responsibility to play our part.
Right. And I think that segues really nicely into bringing the rest of our group in as aspects of the one, as beings of the one. And so I'm just going to open our discussion to the group now, and and see where that goes.
It's lovely to hear you speaking about this with so much joy and energy. I can feel the energy of all that you're saying from your soul. And there's one thing that I have been a little bit curious about, and I'm curious to hear how your soul might respond to this. Get quite a lot of confusion about ancient wisdom. So my confusion about it is that what's been shared through my guides is that wisdom is knowable in the moment, in the divine present now, and that there are what you might want to call universal truths that are, that have they don't really have longevity because time isn't linear at the soul level, I feel. But they don't change very often. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. So I often feel like ancient wisdom is really timeless wisdom. Yeah, and we get quite caught up in the whole time sort of discussion. I just wonder how you feel about how you might respond to that.
Yeah, I love that question or the exploration, because for me as well, ancient is not. I'm not seeing it in linear time. For me, it doesn't have to do anything with linear. For me, it is really connected to the capability of being connected to every divine wisdom in every divine now moment.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see is that a lot of indigenous peoples have not forgotten to be connected in the most simple way. And that is not only what I like what I've read in book, but what I've really experienced. So the experience also of being around people that have not forgotten how it is to always be connected to that wisdom is such, and I think that's also part of the sacred geometry and the alchemy, that without words, just being in each other's physical space, so to say, is reinstalling or reinforcing that innate connection that we all have. So we're all indigenous in that sense. And we can all tap into that ancient wisdom, which I always see and I saw it just before we went on, as a golden spiral where we are all different aspects on that golden spiral. That's how I see it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. To me, there's no differentiation between us and Earth. We are us and Earth is us. And so the indigenous connection to wisdom, as you say, is in every divine now moment, is fully interlinked with all with all that is. I feel like we definitely are regaining it, and the regaining of it feels to me connected to the true flourishing of golden earth. But how do you feel that? How do you imagine, or how do you sense, or what is your guidance about what that might look like? That's a kind of, I'm kind of curious about that. I mean, that's just an open question for all of us, really.
Yeah.
What might we be receiving as images or senses or feelings or hearings or songs?
I've been in some meditations, and also when you speak about songs, that's also resonating very much in my body. But I've, like, in a physical form, I've been in a meditation where I saw this, where I was invited to go through several doors into the golden earth. And then the golden earth, I saw all circles of people in a very lush green surroundings. I didn't see anything else, actually. I just saw the green and the people in circles of all colors, ages, very diverse, and led by young people. So that was really interesting for me. And also a very appealing image as well.
Well, and that speaks to what you talk about, I think, in your book about, connecting the wisdom of the elders to the future generations.
Yeah, because I I feel that a lot of our future generations today are coming into the earth with a totally different consciousness. That I don't know your age, but I am 55. And what I see with young people around me, that they start in a totally different way. It seems like they have not forgotten as much as maybe some of us have forgotten in the past. And so they are on a very different journey. And I also see that they are naturally connecting a lot more to this. It's almost like there's this bridge from the purity of source, and then there's the future generations, and there's the whole shizzle in between, which sometimes just seems irrelevant, or yeah, I don't know, a different earth. That's a man-made earth, a worldly earth that we have used and abused in all ways. And here I see that ancient source and these future generations, there's some purity in it that, yeah, that is enabling. I can even see, if I close my eyes, I can see like almost golden fireworks if those connections are made.
And I feel to ask, maybe in relation to that, I was feeling when you were talking some connection between responsibility and compassion. Would you be able to share more about that?
That's a beautiful question. Yeah, so in my book, I tell about once I met the Dalai Lama in Holland with 20,000 other people. It was in a football stadium, but he is so inspiring. And he taught about his teachings of compassion, and there are 8 teachings, and some of them are quite challenging, I think, for the Western mind, especially when it comes to seeing yourself always as the lowest when you encounter another being, and seeing that being as superior. And personally, I have really had difficulty with that teaching. And that's why I thought it's like when I experience difficulty somewhere, I'm like, ooh, nice. So what's here to explore? Because I think that's what life is about, right? It's a juicy exploration of all these upsets that we get in our life. And I feel also in his presence that maybe I don't know if this is true. Maybe it is our only responsibility to truly practice compassion in every cell of our being. Because I do feel that if we do that, that's also the gateway to Golden Earth.
Yeah, that really resonates. And well, particularly for me, feeling or allowing or embodying the compassion when I'm most in resistance to that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's I'm laughing because I've had one spiritual teacher, and she always said, like, practicing compassion with the people you love is easy peasy, right? But if you really want to have a practice in compassion, go and watch the news when you see Putin or Trump or whatever, like, announcing their worst stuff, and then practice compassion. That is practicing compassion.
Well, that certainly really helps me in relation to responsibility, and what it really means.
Yeah, that's yeah. Thank you for saying that, because with that I also realized that it's about recognizing that everything that is out there is in here.
Mm. I'd love to know what's coming up for everybody in relation to being in Vivienne's presence and Vivienne's sharing. So a lot is coming up as I'm present and feeling and hearing. What's coming up for everybody?
If I may, I had a curiosity about going back to sacred geometry, and you mentioned what's going on inside and what's going on outside. Is there anything that that resonates or comes up in terms of sacred geometry and what we can learn from sacred geometry internally and externally?
Mm. I think I'm not a scientist, and I'm also not, I'm not very knowledgeable in all quantum fields and all that. But I love, for example, I follow Matthias de Stefano a lot, and I've been in his presence in London last year. And what I really loved, and this is what's coming up to your question, what I really loved is how we were there for 2 whole days with 2,000 people in a room. And the first day was all about working through our own shit. Sorry for the word, but really clearing ourselves and making sure that we were in the purest state of being. And then on the second day, it was really practicing collective sacred geometry in connection to Earth and to the place where we were. I don't know if that's a.
Wow. Yes. So the way I'm interpreting that is sort of clearing the channel, as it were, or our connection, and then allowing it to flow.
Yeah.
Mm.
And also what
Thank you.
my experience is because like I said, I don't know the science part of it. It's more like what I feel myself. So I love the holy trinities in sacred geometry, in the Merkaba, in all the different shapes and forms that it has. And I have experienced when I was traveling in Australia a few years ago, and when I was in Uluru, and I was there for 6 days, and we were sometimes like almost, I still don't know what exactly happened, but almost disappearing, it seemed like really out of time space, connecting to the sacred geometry, which is not like consciously connecting, but just being available, opening up, being as pure as you can, and then yeah, disappearing would be the best word I would be able to describe it.
Yeah.
Mm. Is it disappearing, or is it merging with, or being conscious of the absence of a difference between that which is and ourselves and each other?
That's beautiful voiced. I think it's sometimes both. I really feel that sometimes you can disappear in those kind of uh, states.
Mm.
And it's
Well,
also
what I'm sorry,
merging, definitely.
I was going to say what I'm seeing and feeling um, in relation to sacred geometry is like almost like you have the hall of mirrors and it keeps repeating itself.
Yeah.
So you have the sacred, whichever sacred geometry it is, and then it's just an expansiveness of the same. And yeah, it just goes back and it comes back to itself
Mm.
as you were speaking.
Mm. I think it's also a disappearance of the personality in that moment. That's maybe what I mean with disappearing.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like a dissolving of the personality and what Barry was saying, merging into the oneness. Or you have to do that dissolving, disappearing to truly connect.
More to the observation around the misunderstanding of consciousness, that it's not out there, it's in here.
I think that's an eternal exploration because it's, yeah, isn't it?
Is it in here, or is it not in here and out there? It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So if we're dissolving the personality, yeah, it would be interesting to hear how we all feel about what is it that facilitates that dissolving of the personality. If you all have anything that you feel, well, for what I'm hearing is that it's the words that I'm hearing are the commitment to and the desire to be at one with all that is, with all that one is.
Mm.
And in fact, I was just writing this morning that there are multiple levels of surrender and multiple levels of commitment to that. So without making it complicated, which I sometimes tend to do, it feels like it's more than just one. It's more than just surrender. It's layers, or it's levels, or it's this hall of mirrors that we go into, and as we traverse or navigate the hall of mirrors, the different mirrors point out, oh, have you really surrendered in that part, or have you really committed to that part? That's sort of how I was experiencing it when you were speaking.
Yeah, and for me that's related to the responsibility, because I feel that commitment, maybe the responsibility is commitment to at least being aligned or being aware where I'm not aligned in every moment. So I don't have to be perfect and be aligned all the time, but at least if I'm not, being aware where I'm not.
Yeah.
A phrase came up in the last couple of days, which has really been staying with me, which was the quality of the sound expressed, which to me, I started to feel the fractal aspect. And then the shape of the silence that's left behind. And this movement between purity of expression or intentional, how aligned am I, and the sound or the space or the silence that follows having a quality to it, which is, I can't, it's beyond any words I can express here, that felt sense. And how as fractals we're all in these multiple constellations and shapes and forms. Yeah, I'll stop there.
It's beautiful, because for me that's also what Golden Earth is about returning to to our original ways of expression, which is sound a lot more. And that's also speaking to the responsibility for me, because we all have our part to play, like in an orchestra.
Yeah. Yeah, going back to the indigenous, that's why I feel so drawn to it, is in that circle, everyone has their unique, sacred gifts, and we're all helping each other express that in its fullest expression so that it benefits the whole. And yeah, but go ahead. You're nodding.
Yeah, I'm nodding because it also, even if you explain it like that, I can immediately feel my whole body relax. And that's
Yeah.
also what's happening in those circles. It's like our whole being is relaxing into being without any expectations or shoulds or um,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say in response to Lorna's question or statement. Is for me, somatically, it's just that dissolving is complete relaxation of all of the armor, all of the, physical, personality into that essence, which is obviously inside and outside. Mm.
We're all feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Very much so. And it's so amplified with all of us, right? Together.
I think that's it's a beautiful kind of key for us to, again, maybe spend a few moments to connect to that, to radiate that through the constellation. As it's just so powerful, beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question. If there's anyone watching this podcast and they were interested in Golden Earth, or what is Golden Earth, what does that mean to you, Vivienne? And what would you say to that person or persons?
yeah, what just came up when we were in that beautiful space together was we all have access. So it's I know that there's sometimes when people speak about golden earth, they think it's something that they are very far away from, or but we are all creators. We we are all co-creating this in this moment. Yeah, I hear relax and simplicity.
And I don't know how anyone else feels, but I feel like feelings of loneliness or disconnection or separation just are just not possible. Not as a belief or an idea or anything. Like, just it's just not possible. Like, what's known is known. What a gift that is.
What is it to you, Dilraj?
A very good question. What's come up is discernment in the doing and more being.
Mm.
So, of course, we need to do, we live in the physical world, but discernment in the choices that we make and the decisions that we imply and implore, and more stepping into the beingness or the connectedness.
I love that, and I love the discernment as well. And there was one metaphor that Matthias used the other day that I really loved about a guitar and a guitar string, where he said like we live in a duality which is very different from polarity, right? And we are all these guitar strings, and music can only be played in the middle where there's the hole of the guitar. So we are that whole. So all we have to do, which can be quite challenging, but is practicing that discernment.
Or maybe it's practicing our wholeness.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Or even aligning with our wholeness would help, I think. To realize that we're already whole. Okay. For some of us on a different template, that's how I would talk about it. The oldies on a different template, and I'm 10 years plus older than you. That template it's a challenging one, in the sense that there's a lot in the way of the realization of the wholeness.
Mm.
But it doesn't mean that the wholeness isn't already there. So for me, it feels that's a wonderful metaphor to kind of align with that wholeness. Means I'm playing my note, radiating my note, in a tuneful way. Tuneful, which is something I'm not known for. However, it's very much more enjoyable to be tuneful in constellation with you all.
Mm.
Well, yes, and when we all are playing our notes, so to speak, it becomes an orchestra, and then that radiates out, and then that's, I think, how we uh, continue to create the golden earth, is coming together, amplifying and radiating, and having that a ripple effect.
So I have a curiosity around the distinction between curating and creating, which feels present. So what I feel is everything already is. Therefore, there isn't actually creating in the literal sense. Curation feels like the appreciation of what already is, and the attention appreciation of that seems to bring that forward or bring that into more being. It's not a firm, it's not a definite understanding, it's just a feeling and a sense, which I'd love to understand a little bit more or have a perspective on.
Yeah, I love that. For me, creating is not about doing, it is about being. And I don't know, but this just comes up that the more we feel that we are one, the more creation flow, like in nature, is just flowing. And that's creation. Through all the seasons, through all the death and birth, and being aligned with the cosmic rhythm. Maybe that's creating.
Mm.
Allowing that cosmic rhythm, as you say, to flow through us and use our sacred gifts to create.
It's interesting. I've been having these debates with my guides lately about, they've been encouraging me to be much more precise about my use of words, generally speaking, but that seems to be a theme at the moment. And a meaning of create is to bring something into existence. And their guidance is that there is nothing to bring into existence. Differentiated source has already brought everything that is into existence.
Mm.
So even the notion of, well, but I did ask the question actually this morning, was about, before we came on this call, because it's been bugging me for a while, is what's the co-creation? You know, what is co-creation all about? And the answer was, well, I'm taking this was their answer to me, was that you're not yet at the co-creator God level. You're not operating at that level yet. So you're not actually co-creating. You are enacting. You are responding to what the creator has already created. I'm not completely happy about, I'm not completely comfortable with that. I'm going to ask some more questions of my guides. But I feel like there's something there around this notion of creation. It needs some kind of, it's going to be different in the golden earth for some reason. I don't know how different how, but I just have a feeling it's going to be different.
I just wanted to thank everyone here for your time, presence, and grace, and especially Vivienne for joining us here and giving us a little bit more insight on Golden Earth. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, because it has been such a great joy to merge with you all, because that's what I feel. We just merge and tap into collective wisdom that is available for all of us in every now moment.
Thank you for joining us. We invite you to subscribe to our channels and join our community. To receive more information about our guests and future events, please visit our website at sourceness.one. We are one.